She was choking on blood, her own, face down on the sticky bar floor when the jukebox skipped to "Sweet Child O' Mine." Nobody heard her scream. It was 2:43 a.m. The neon sign outside the Greyhound Saloon flickered like a dying heartbeat, casting red shadows across the empty stools and broken glass. A single boot scraped across the linoleum floor. Not hers, his. He knelt beside her, not to help, just to watch. "I told you," he whispered, voice slick with something worse than hate. "You should have never come back here." 36. Hours earlier, Tessa Harper had pulled into town with a duffel bag, a dog-eared journal, and a new identity. No one recognized her. Good. She'd been gone 10 years. The bar hadn't changed, except the name. New owner, new vibe. Same smell of stale beer, desperation, and secrets soaked deep into the wood. The plan was simple. Show up, watch, wait, then strike. She wasn't here for a drink. She was here for revenge. Tessa took a job as a temp bartender, just for a few nights. Enough to learn the faces behind the new bar, but by night 2, she'd already seen him, Liam. He was behind the bar, laughing with 2 regulars like he didn't have the blood of a 19-year-old girl on his hands. He looked older, sure. A beard now, a limp in his left leg, but the voice was the same. That smug charm that fooled everyone, except her. She'd seen him that night, a decade ago. She'd been hiding in the walk-in fridge, clutching a bottle of gin and her best. Friend's phone, watching Liam drag something heavy out the back door. She never told, never ran to the police, never even told her parents why she vanished, because they wouldn't have believed her, because Liam was their golden boy, the owner's son, the hometown hero. But she remembered everything, and now she was here to end it. The first night she spoke to him, Liam didn't flinch. "New girl?" he asked, eyes sweeping over her like she was a menu item. "You don't look like you're from around here." She smiled politely. "Just passing through." "Lucky us," he said. "You've got that survivor vibe." She didn't answer. Not yet. She was still gathering pieces, the faces, the whispers, the rumors about what really happened that night. When her best friend Claire went missing and Liam claimed she just left him. But there were holes in the story, always had been. And now, 10 years later, Tessa had returned not just with memories, but with proof. Claire's journal, found in the hollow of an old tree, dated the day before she disappeared, and in it, "If anything happens to me," it was Liam, night 3. She slipped the journal into the safe behind the bar, just in case she didn't make it out alive. She didn't expect the next person to walk in to be Detective Reuben Mayfield, the same man who'd closed Claire's case in under 48 hours. Cause, unknown. Likely runaway. Case, cold. Now he was here, drinking with Liam. "Tessa, meet Reuben," Liam said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "He's been like a second father to me." Of course he had. Reuben looked her over, squinting slightly. "Have we met before?" She shook her head. "No, sir," but her heart was hammering. He remembered something or someone, and he didn't trust her. Time was running out. That night after closing, she followed Liam to the basement, the one no one ever went into. The one padlocked with a key only he wore around his neck. She waited until he was inside. Then silently, she crept down the stairs. What she saw turned her stomach. Not a body, photos, hundreds of them, pinned across the concrete wall like trophies. All women, some smiling, some terrified. One unmistakably Claire. And worse, the journal was there, open on the table. Someone had taken it from the bar safe. She turned to run, but the door slammed shut. "Thought you'd come poking around eventually." Liam's voice echoed from the shadows. She backed up. "You killed her," he smiled. "I killed a lot of people." Then, from behind her, a hand grabbed her wrist. Detective Reuben, still smiling. Tessa froze. Reuben's grip tightened around her wrist. Not aggressive, but firm, like someone holding onto a memory that might vanish. His eyes weren't cold, they were worse, empty. "You don't understand what you've walked into," he said calmly. Tessa yanked her arm away, stumbling back against a table filled with old liquor crates and dust-coated candles. Liam leaned against the far wall, arms uncrossed, like he was watching a TV show he'd already seen the ending of. "Welcome to the archive," he said with a smirk. "Everyone leaves a piece of themselves here." Tessa scanned the room. There had to be something, a weapon, a phone, a stairway out. "I saw the photos," she said, her voice low. "Claire, you, Ruben, all of it. You think people like us get caught," Ruben said. "You think we survived this long by accident?" Liam stepped forward. "You're not the first girl to try playing detective. Most just end up framed or forgotten." Tessa's heart pounded in her throat. Her fingers brushed the edge of a rusted crowbar beneath the table. Slowly, she wrapped her hand around it. "You've been collecting trophies," she said. "But not anymore," she swung. The crowbar sliced through the air, missing Liam by inches. He dodged fast, faster than she expected. Ruben lunged forward. She turned, caught him square in the ribs. He groaned, staggered back, but didn't fall. That was her opening. Tessa bolted for the door, but it was locked. No handle on this side. No code, no key, just steel and silence. Behind her, Liam whistled. "You're feisty," Claire was too at first. 10 years earlier, a memory Tessa never wanted to relive. Tessa and Claire sat on the bar's rooftop, legs dangling over the edge. It was their last summer before college. Claire had just broken up with Liam, or tried to. "He's not who he says he is," she whispered that night. "He scares me when no one's around. The way he talks, like he owns me." Tessa had brushed it off, told her it was stress, told her Liam was just intense. A week later, Claire vanished. The cops found nothing. The town moved on, but Tessa had never forgiven herself for not listening, for not saving her. Now, basement, present day. Tessa wiped blood from her lip. Ruben was breathing heavily now, one hand on his side. She'd cracked a rib. "You were just a dumb kid," he said. "You should have stayed gone." Liam approached slowly, knife in hand. "This doesn't have to be messy. Just sleep, like the rest." "Why?" Tessa asked. "Why kill them? Why keep this going?" Liam grinned. "Because it's easy. People disappear in towns like this. Drifters, girls with no family. It's not murder, it's maintenance." Tessa stared him down. "You're sick." "Probably," he said, shrugging. "But the town stays clean, doesn't it? No crime, no questions. We do the dirty work and everyone sleeps better." "And Claire?" she asked, voice shaking. He paused, just long enough to let truth drip like venom. "She screamed your name when I took her." The crowbar clattered to the ground. Tessa's breath hitched. That was the moment the rage took over. She grabbed the nearest bottle, smashed it against the wall, and pointed the jagged glass at Ruben. "I swear to God, one step closer, and I'll bury this in your neck." Ruben looked at Liam. Liam raised his hands. "Back off," Liam said. "Let her run." "What?" Ruben snapped. "She's not worth it," Liam muttered. "Besides, she'll never get out." Ruben hesitated, then slowly stepped back. Tessa moved to the far side of the room. She spotted a ventilation grate high up on the wall, barely big enough to crawl through. Maybe. She scrambled onto a stack of crates, slipped the crowbar through the grate and yanked. It bent, cracked, fell away. She hoisted herself up, fingers scraped raw against the jagged edge, legs kicking against the cold concrete wall. Liam stepped forward again. "You climb." "Oh, I'll find you." Tessa paused. "Maybe," she said, "but next time I won't come alone." Outside. 4:18 a.m. She emerged behind the bar, gasping, knees torn, hands bleeding. The back alley was empty, except for a cat licking something red from a tipped trash bin. She stumbled into the street. No cars, no people. She ran to the old gas station. banged on the door. An old man opened it, startled. "Miss, are you—" "Call the police," she gasped. "Please do it now." But when the cops arrived, the basement was clean. No photos, no Ruben, no Liam, just a room with empty crates, old mop buckets and a sign, "Authorized staff only." No evidence, no truth, nothing. Tessa's journal gone. The officers looked bored. "You sure you didn't imagine all this?" one asked. Tessa stared at the empty room, heart sinking. "No," she said softly. "I didn't imagine Claire." Later, that morning, Tessa sat outside the bar, knees to her chest. Sunlight warmed her skin, but nothing inside her felt alive. "You okay?" a voice asked. She looked up. A woman, maybe 40, wearing sunglasses and holding a to-go coffee. "I saw you last night," the woman said quietly. "You were with Liam." Tessa straightened. "Do you know him?" The woman hesitated. "My sister worked here. She vanished last year. Cops said she ran off, but she'd never leave without saying goodbye." She reached into her purse and handed Tessa a photo. Same woman, behind the bar, smiling. Tessa's heart twisted. "Another one." She looked at the woman. "What's your name?" "Leah." Tessa extended her hand. "I'm Tessa. We need to talk." 2 weeks later, Liam smiled as he flipped the open sign on the door. The bar was spotless. No one asked questions anymore. Tessa had disappeared. Again. He thought maybe she'd learned her lesson. Then he saw it. A flyer nailed to the power pole across the street. "Claire Harper deserves justice. So do the others. Women don't just vanish. No, a name, no contact, just the truth." And Liam, for the first time in years, felt something unexpected. Fear. Liam stood frozen in front of the flyer. The morning sun did nothing to thaw the chill in his spine. It had been 10 years since anyone dared speak Claire Harper's name out loud, let alone on a poster nailed across from his bar. And not just Claire. The others. That meant someone new. Tessa. She was alive, and she wasn't done. Across town, 7:11 a.m. Tessa sipped black coffee with, shaking hands as Leah laid more photos out on the motel bed. "That's her," Tessa said, pointing. "The girl in the pink jacket. She's in Liam's photo wall. Was. Her name was Stephanie," Leah said. "My sister's friend. She disappeared 6 months after Danielle, my sister. Both worked at Greyhound." Tessa stared at the faces, smiling. "Laughing, trusting, now gone. We can't go to the cops," Tessa said. "Not here. Ruben's still in their pocket, or worse." Leah looked up. "Then what do we do?" Tessa pulled her duffel bag closer. Inside was a cheap camera, a pocket recorder, and the only thing she trusted more than herself, a burner phone. "We do what no one else ever did," she said. "We watch him back." Hours later, the trap begins. Liam was off his game. He dropped 2 bottles during service, forgot a regular's order, spent long minutes staring out the front windows. The flyer was gone, but its memory gnawed at him. Tessa hadn't just survived. She was hunting him. He slipped into his office that night, pulled the CCTV tapes from the night Tessa vanished. He scanned the footage. Gone, deleted. Even the camera facing the alley erased. He paced. "I told you to kill her when you had the chance," Ruben said from the doorway. "I wanted to make it look like a suicide," Liam hissed. "Like the others? But she's smarter than them." Ruben frowned. "She's not smart, she's emotional. That's dangerous." Then Ruben tossed something on the desk, a copy of the same flyer. Another one, found outside City Hall. "Claire Harper deserves justice." And this one had something the last didn't, a QR code. Liam scanned it with trembling fingers. It led to a video. Tessa's voice came first. "My name is Tessa Harper. My best friend was murdered. Her killer was protected, but not anymore. If I disappear again, this is why." Then it cut to an image, blurry, but enough. Claire, crying in the basement, Liam behind her. If you recognize this man, contact this number. Liam slammed the laptop shut. She's building a case, he whispered. She wants to expose me. Ruben's jaw clenched. Then we end this. Now. That night. Motel room. 12 Leah returned from the drugstore with makeup, fake bruises, and a small vial of pig's blood from the butcher. Are you sure this will work? She asked. Tessa tightened her ponytail. Liam doesn't expect to be watched. He expects fear. But we're not afraid anymore. She laid out the plan again. Leah goes in as bait, bruised and broken-looking, pretends she's fleeing a violent man. Liam offers help, like he always does. Hidden camera in her purse records everything. Tessa follows, this time with backup. Real backup, because they'd sent the video to someone they trusted, Detective Carla Jensen, a cold case investigator from another county, one who'd reopened 3 disappearances connected to the Greyhound. She was coming, 42 p.m. The Barlia stumbled in wearing a torn sweater, makeup smeared, voice cracking. Liam looked up from behind the counter. Predatory calm. Hey, he said gently. You okay? She whimpered. I just need somewhere to sit. Just for a minute. He poured her water. No one chasing you, are they? No, I left. He leaned closer. Bad breakup. She nodded. He hit me, took my phone. I didn't know where else to go. He smiled. You came to the right place. Outside in the alley, Tessa waited. She held her burner phone tight, fingers trembling. The camera inside Leah's purse was live streaming. She could see Liam sit beside Leah, touch her hand. He was reeling her in. Then she heard a sound behind her, a click. She turned. Ruben, gun in hand. Show's over, he said. Tessa raised her hands. You think killing me now will stop this? It'll. Slow it down, she smirked. Then you haven't checked your email. He hesitated. And you didn't notice the dash cam on that car? She nodded toward the sedan idling across the street. Everything you just said, recorded. Ruben spun to look. That was her moment. She lunged, grabbed his arm. The gun went off, shot shattered glass. Then headlights blinded them. Detective. Carla Jensen stepped out. Badge raised. Drop the weapon, she barked. Now! Ruben froze. 2 more officers emerged behind her. One tackled Ruben to the ground. Tessa fell to her knees, heart pounding. Jensen helped her up. You okay? No, Tessa said. But we're close. Inside, the Barlia smiled at Liam. You know, she said, you remind me of someone. Yeah? He grinned. Someone good or bad? She leaned forward. Someone stupid enough to think women don't fight back? Then the front door burst open, cops everywhere, guns drawn. Liam stood, stunned, hands halfway raised. Tessa entered, face bruised but eyes blazing. He met her gaze. You planned this, he whispered. No, she said. I survived this. The arrest, 1:08 a.m. Liam tried to claim innocence, said it was a setup, that he was framed. But the photos recovered from a secret flash drive in his office said otherwise. As did the now restored security footage, Detective Jensen's text pulled from his deleted server. As did the journal, Claire's journal, hidden in Ruben's glove compartment. Tessa held it in her hands and wept. 2 weeks later, city courthouse reporters flooded the steps. The case had gone viral. The Greyhound Predator, they called him. Claire Harper's name was on every channel. Tessa spoke at the press conference, voice steady. She was my best friend. She was not a runaway. She was not forgotten. And now, she's free. That night, Tessa sat on the same rooftop where she and Claire once shared secrets. The stars were bright. The bar was closed. Forever. Leah joined her, 2 beers in hand. You think justice is ever really enough? She asked. Tessa took the beer. No, but sometimes it's a start. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find who you really are. 6 months later, New Orleans, Louisiana, Claire Harper's funeral. Tessa stood before the memorial photo of her best friend. Claire was smiling in the picture, alive, radiant, a fire in her eyes the world never got to fully know. The court had ruled Liam guilty of second-degree murder and human trafficking. Reuben flipped for a lighter sentence, confessing to his role in multiple disappearances. The Greyhound Bar was gone, its foundations torn up, salt poured into the dirt. But Tessa wasn't at peace, because this story wasn't just about Claire, it was about all of them. Leah found her by the river that night, watching the water drift in silence. "You didn't speak at the funeral," she said. Tessa nodded. "I didn't know what to say." "You said everything you needed to say when you took them down." "No, I said everything I needed to say for Claire, but not for me." Leah sat beside her. "What would you say if it was just for you?" Tessa hesitated, then whispered, "That I lost myself long before Liam ever touched me. I spent 10 years hiding, blaming myself, thinking if I was louder, stronger, smarter, she'd still be alive. You were just a kid, Tessa, but I'm not anymore. And I can't keep pretending justice means closure." Leah looked at her. "What do you want then?" Tessa breathed deep. "I want the others to be remembered, not just as missing girls or court statistics. I want people to know who they were, their stories, their dreams." She turned to Leah. "Help me make something that doesn't die with headlines." 1 year later, Podcast Studio Brooklyn. Welcome back to Dead Girls Don't Lie, a show about truth, justice, and the girls who were never supposed to survive. I'm your host, Tessa Harper. Today's episode, Danielle Moore, sister, artist, waitress, and fighter. The podcast exploded overnight. Each episode told the story of a missing girl connected to the Greyhound Bar and other similar cases across small-town America. Tessa tracked families, court records, surviving friends. She built a map, a pattern. She didn't just tell their stories. She named the people who failed them: police, mayors, crooked lawyers, towns that closed their eyes. Some listeners sent tips, others sent threats, but the audience grew, so did the truth. Tessa was finally breathing again, until one day, an envelope arrived at her door. No return address, just one word on the front: stop. Inside, a Polaroid. Not old, not vintage. New. It showed a girl, in a dark room, duct tape over her mouth, and in the corner, the logo of a new bar. The Hollow Taproom, Omaha, Nebraska. Tessa stared at the image for hours. It didn't make sense. Liam was in prison. Reuben, too. The others had been fired, exposed, or exiled. This was someone new, or worse, someone trying to continue the work they'd started. She tried calling Detective Carla Jensen. No answer. She tried Leah, straight to voicemail. Her hands shook. The darkness she thought she'd buried wasn't gone. It had just moved. Tessa booked a flight that night, not because she wanted to save someone again, but because she couldn't not. The ghosts of every girl who never made it home were still walking beside her. Claire, Danielle, Stephanie. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was war. In Omaha, 2 days later, Tessa stood outside the Hollow Taproom. It looked normal, friendly. Brick walls, neon signs, a crowd of people in their 20s laughing over drinks. Just like Greyhound had once been. But she saw the pattern: small staff, young girls working alone, bouncers who watched too closely, a dark alley around back, and a missing poster on a light pole nearby. "Have you seen Amy Hawthorne? Last seen. Walking home." Parents still searching. Tessa's blood went cold. Amy looked just like Claire. That night, hidden in her car, Tessa watched as a man in a dark coat walked a crying girl out the back. She started the recorder, snapped a photo, watched. The girl resisted. The man tightened his grip. Tessa jumped out of her car and shouted, "Hey, let her go!" The man froze. The girl broke free and ran. Tessa pointed her phone at him. "Smile!" But he didn't. He pulled a knife instead and lunged. Blackness, a struggle, then flashing lights, sirens. Detective Carla Jensen's voice somewhere in the fog. You never learn to stay down, do you? Tessa opened her eyes, bruised but breathing. Not when someone else is still in the dark, she rasped. 3 weeks later, recovery room. Leah sat beside her bed with a bouquet of dead daisies. An inside joke. You look like crap, she said. Tessa smiled weakly. You always know how to make a girl feel alive. Leah pulled out her phone. You went viral again. News is calling you the ghost hunter. Some are saying you're insane. Others think you should run for office. Neither, Tessa said. Then what are you? Tessa looked at the IV in her arm, the bandage on her ribs, the scar forming near her shoulder. I'm someone who finally understands the truth. Leah leaned in. And what's that? Tessa turned to the window. Some ghosts don't want justice. They want revenge. But me, I want something bigger. I want to make sure there are no more ghosts to haunt the living. Final scene, Podcast Studio, Season 2. Premiere, you're listening to Dead Girls Don't Lie, Season 2. This season, we're not just telling stories. We're exposing the machine, the system that lets monsters hide in plain sight. My name is Tessa Harper. I was never supposed to live through it, but I did, and now I speak for those who can't. Welcome to the next chapter. This part closes the original revenge arc, delivers emotional closure, and sets up a broader, you can only run from the dark so long. Eventually, it learns how to follow you in daylight. Chicago, Illinois, 6:45 p.m. Tessa stared at the blinking cursor on her laptop. The podcast mic was live, notes scattered everywhere, a hot mug of tea untouched. She hadn't slept in 2 days. This episode was different. It wasn't about someone else's story. It was about her own. The knife, the alley, the girl who almost didn't make it. Amy Hawthorne had been found, alive, barely breathing in an old motel bathtub, with drugs in her system and rope burns around her wrists. She survived, but she couldn't speak, couldn't remember, and the man who attacked Tessa, still missing. No ID, no fingerprints, no trace, just gone, like a ghost. Tessa's phone buzzed, unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? A female voice replied, calm but cold. You're making enemies. Some don't forgive. Click. The line went dead. That night, Detective Carla Jensen's apartment. You need protection, Carla said, pacing. Private security, witness protection if it gets worse. Tessa shook her head. I'm not hiding. I've done that enough for 10 years. This isn't about bravery anymore, Carla warned. It's obsession. Someone's watching you, Tessa, maybe more than one. Your work's threatening someone powerful. Tessa looked up. Then I must be doing it right. Flashback. 10 years ago, Tessa, 17, bleeding on a bar floor. Claire screaming her name. Liam standing over them with a bottle in his hand. Reuben dragging Claire away. Back then, the world moved too fast. She couldn't save Claire, couldn't even scream, but now she had a voice. Present day, Dead Girls Don't Lie, episode titled The Boy with No Name. Tessa hit record. Tonight's story isn't about a victim. It's about a predator, a man with no birth certificate, no fingerprints, no address, but he exists. And last week, he almost killed me. He had a snake tattoo on his wrist, a chipped tooth, a strange habit of humming when he got close. I remember every detail because monsters leave a smell in your bones. We call him the boy with no name, and I'm going to find him. The internet explodes, thousands of tips, snake tattoos, bar workers, ex-bouncers, discarded IDs, Reddit threads. One lead stands out. My sister dated a guy like that in Arizona, said he ran a VIP girls club in Flagstaff. She disappeared 2 years ago. Her name was Chelsea Dawn. The email came with a photo. Chelsea looked like a mirror of Claire. Flagstaff, Arizona. 2 weeks later, Tessa, disguised in a thrift store jacket, checked into a roadside motel. The bar was called The Velvet Skull, hidden behind a tattoo parlor. Open only 3 nights. A week. No website, no phone number, no real staff listed. She knew the look, another hunting ground. She went in undercover as a waitress, applied with a fake name. Blonde wig, contacts. Within minutes, she was hired. Within hours, she knew. This was it. Night 2. The back room. Tessa carried drinks through the narrow hallway. Laughter echoed. But something felt off. She passed a door that wasn't on the map, no label, just a red X scratched into it. She paused, heard a soft moan, then silence. Her hand hovered over the handle. Lost, sweetheart? The voice stopped her cold. She turned. There he was, the snake tattoo, the chipped tooth. The boy with no name. He smiled like he recognized her. Didn't I see you in Chicago? She played dumb. Never been. Funny. You've got that survivor look. He leaned in. I like the ones who fight back. They bleed better. She stared into his eyes. He didn't blink, didn't flinch. He wasn't human. She made a choice. Tessa lunged, not to fight, to grab his wrist. Snap! A hidden wire bracelet she wore jabbed a needle into his skin. He stumbled back, swearing. What the? The tranquilizer hit fast. He dropped, and Tessa ran. Back at the Motel, Leah and Carla were waiting, armed, recording. They threw him in the trunk. He was breathing, but not conscious. Carla stared at Tessa. Are we really doing this? Tessa nodded. We've waited long enough. They drove 3 hours to an old ranger station. Long abandoned, no cameras, no traffic, no interference. The interrogation at 3 a.m. He woke tied to a chair, still dazed. Where is Chelsea Dawn? Tessa asked. Silence. Where are the others? More silence. Then he smirked. You think this ends with me? I'm just the teeth. The body's much bigger, and you already bit it. He laughed. Carla stepped forward and punched him hard. Tessa leaned in. You're going to talk. Over the next 4 hours, they learned everything. He was part of a network, not just bars, but freight routes, underground parties, rich clients. Each hunting ground was a test site. Girls were selected based on vulnerability. Trafficked, under fake IDs. Sold as party packages, most never returned. Chelsea Dawn had tried to escape, so they disappeared her. Claire, a mistake. She wasn't supposed to fight back. Tessa, an even bigger mistake because she survived. Carla leaked the footage anonymously. Within 48 hours, 3 arrests in Nevada, a bar in Texas, shut down. An FBI task force opened a case. Tessa's podcast went silent for 5 days, then returned with a statement. We found him, but he's not alone. He's part of something built on silence, so now we scream. We name every girl, every bar, every monster, because they wanted us dead, but we're still breathing. And now we're coming for all of them. 1 month later, national TV interview. Tessa sat across from the host, calm, strong. You've exposed one of the darkest trafficking networks in U.S. history. Aren't you afraid? She looked into the camera. I was afraid every day. Afraid of what they'd do if I spoke, but I'm more afraid of what happens if I don't. The host leaned forward. What now? Tessa smiled faintly. Now I go after the ones who never thought they'd be found. Final scene, an empty bar somewhere in Montana. A man watched the news, saw Tessa's face. He changed the channel, took a sip of whiskey, then whispered to the bartender, "Tell the boss, the girl's alive and she's not stopping." The bartender nodded. In the back room, a new list was being written. Tessa Harper's name was at the top. Final chapter, the end game. Some bars never close, not because they're open, but because the screams never stopped echoing. Somewhere, in Montana, 2:37 a.m., the bar was silent. Dust clung to the air like a warning. A few broken neon signs flickered above cracked booths. No music, no laughter. Just the distant hum of an old freezer and the slow creak of a back door swinging in the wind. Tessa stood in the doorway, gun in one hand, phone in the other. Her voice shook, but her stance didn't. "This is it," she whispered into her earpiece. "This is where they took them." Through the tiny speaker, Carla's voice replied, "Backup's 10 minutes out." Tessa exhaled. "Then I'll hold 4, 9, 6 weeks earlier, national exposure. After Tessa's podcast went viral and the FBI raided multiple locations tied to the trafficking ring, the world started watching, people rallied. Hashtags trended, survivors sent messages. But there was one name left, Reuben Miles, bar owner, silent investor, the man who dragged Claire away all those years ago. Tessa learned he'd changed his identity, but a tip from a retired PI placed him in Montana, running a bar under the name The Barrel Room. Tessa knew it wasn't just a name, it was a graveyard. Now, the Barrel Room. She moved deeper inside, flashlight scanning the room. On the walls were photographs, girls, some smiling, some missing, some marked with red X's. Claire's photo was there, so was Chelsea Dawn's, and Amy Hawthorne, dozens of them, a trophy wall. Tessa swallowed her scream, then a sound behind the bar. Footsteps. She raised her gun. "Come out!" And he did, older, grayer, but unmistakable. Reuben Miles. "Well," he smiled, "I was wondering how long it'd take you." Tessa's hands shook, but she didn't lower her gun. "You killed Claire." Reuben chuckled. "No, Claire killed herself. All I did was give her a ride. You tied her up, you took her from me. You think you're some hero?" he sneered. "You're just a broken girl who couldn't mind her own trauma." Silence. Then Tessa whispered, "You're wrong. I'm a storm." She pulled the trigger. Click empty. Reuben smiled. "You came unprepared." But he didn't see the red light blinking under the bar. She came wired, every word recorded, every threat saved. The backup team was listening. He lunged. She slammed the butt of the gun into his nose, crack, and ducked. He tackled her against a booth. They struggled. Fists, elbows, broken glass, blood pooled beneath them, but Tessa reached for a bottle, smashed it over his head. He dropped, gasping, bleeding, weak. She stood over him, face lit by the flickering sign above. "You trafficked girls like products, like trash." Reuben laughed, even while choking. "And what are you now?" Tessa leaned in, whisper cold. "I'm what's left when the trash burns the house down." Police stormed in, guns drawn. Tessa raised her hands. Carla ran to her, pulling her into an embrace. "You okay?" she asked. Tessa nodded. "He won't hurt anyone else." 1 month later, national trial of Reuben Miles. The courtroom was packed. Survivors, reporters, former staff, family members of the missing. Tessa took the stand. "I was 17 when he stole Claire. She was my best friend. She was better than all of this, and I let fear stop me from fighting." She paused. "But I'm not afraid anymore." Reuben got life without parole, but the victory felt hollow because justice doesn't bring back the dead. Later that night, Claire's favorite bar, now closed. Tessa stood in the empty space where the jukebox used to be. She placed a single photo on the floor, the one of her and Claire laughing at 16, then lit a candle. "I did it, Claire," she whispered. "I told the truth. I made them listen." She stared at the flame, then smiled through tears. "You were always braver." I just finally caught up. 3 months later. Dead girls don't lie. Final episode. Today's episode isn't about horror or pain or revenge. It's about peace, the kind that comes after the storm. Claire, Amy, Chelsea, me, we all lived different stories, but we were bound by the same thread. We were silenced. But now the world knows, the world hears. I'm ending this podcast today, not because I'm done, but because I'm finally free. I'm starting something new, a foundation for girls who made it out, and girls who didn't. Because they didn't disappear, they were erased, and now they're being written back in. Closing scene, Tessa in the desert. She's standing outside a trailer converted into a mobile clinic. Girls are lined up for help. Food, counseling, shelter. A little girl, no older than 8, tugs her hand. "You're the podcast lady, right?" Tessa kneels. "Yeah, I am." The girl asks softly, "Are you gonna save all of us?" Tessa hugs her. "No, but I'm gonna try." The end.